At a royal ceremony meticulously orchestrated to showcase the grandeur and unity of the House of Windsor, all eyes were fixed on the senior members of the family as they strode across the red carpet beneath a blaze of dazzling lights. Yet amid the seemingly flawless spectacle, an unexpected moment cracked the polished facade. Queen Camilla, resplendent in her finery, was said to have acted inappropriately toward Princess Charlotte, the little girl regarded as the crown jewel of the royal family and the special pride of King Charles. The king's gaze, usually imbued with the calm dignity of royalty, shifted in an instant. A flash of anger lit his eyes, sharp enough for those nearby to feel a chill run down their spine. No one knew exactly what had transpired in that fleeting instant, only whispers, startled glances, and a tension that spread through the hall like a sudden frost. Had Camilla inadvertently revealed a lack of respect, or was it a deliberate gesture aimed at the child so deeply cherished by both the public and the king himself? What could have ignited such rare fury in Charles, a man renowned for his ability to keep his emotions in check under any circumstance? The incident instantly became the talk of the evening. Eyewitnesses insisted that Charles's expression was far from ordinary displeasure. It was a surge of pent-up anger, born of an invisible boundary that had just been crossed. Charlotte is not only his granddaughter, she is, in many ways, the living echo of Diana, the woman to whom Charles owes an unrepayable debt and for whom he still carries an unhealed wound in his heart. Any slight or harm directed at Charlotte would be as if someone had touched that wound, raw and aching, once more. So what truly happened between Camilla and Charlotte in that moment? And why could a single fleeting act shatter the king's instinctive aristocratic composure? The answer, perhaps, holds more than the public was ever meant to see on the lavish stage of the British monarchy. Camilla Parker Bowles, a name once at the very heart of fierce controversy, is now the Queen Consort of the United Kingdom. Her journey from the woman the public branded as the other woman in the love story between Prince Charles and Princess Diana, to standing beside the king on the throne, has been a long road lined with storms and a constant undercurrent of public scrutiny. Since the day her secret relationship with Charles was exposed, Camilla has lived under the glare of criticism, facing the disapproval of both the public and many within the royal fold. Yet, despite those years steeped in scandal, time and her steadfast presence at Charles's side have elevated her from a shadowed figure to one of the most powerful women in Britain. Even so, wearing the crown has not freed her from the vast shadow of the past. In the eyes of a segment of the public, she remains a divisive figure, a reminder of a painful chapter in royal history. Her marriage to Charles may have legitimized their love, but it has never erased Diana's imprint on the nation's heart. This ensures that every gesture, every word from Camilla, especially in interactions with the younger royals, is examined with a scrutiny far harsher than that faced by others. In contrast, Princess Charlotte, daughter of Prince William, and Princess Catherine embodies a very different image. Third in line to the throne, she has carried the weight of royal expectation from an early age, yet has captured the public's heart with her charm, quick wit, and poised moments before the cameras. She is seen as one of the brightest faces of the new generation of royals, modern and relatable, yet steeped in traditional grace. The bond between Charlotte and her grandfather, King Charles, has long warmed both the media and royal watchers. At grand occasions such as Trooping the Color, images of the king bending down to smile at his granddaughter, or Charlotte cheekily waving while standing beside him, have become moments replayed across headlines and television screens. Charles, a man rarely given to overt displays of affection, seems to reserve a unique softness for this particular granddaughter. To him, Charlotte is not only the future of the monarchy, but also a source of warmth and comfort in a life long shadowed by pressure and personal wounds. The royal family, at least on the surface, still maintains an image of unity. The King and Queen Camilla stand at the center. Prince William and Princess Catherine serve as the pillars of the next generation, while the younger princes and princesses act as a living bridge between the monarchy and the public. Yet behind the smiles and handshakes for the cameras, undercurrents persist from the strained relationship with Prince Harry and Meghan to quiet rumors of discreet tensions among certain senior members. It is within this context that every royal event becomes a subtle test of internal relations. A single unfriendly glance, a half-joking remark, or even the smallest gesture can be dissected by the press and the public alike. And when the central figures are Camilla and Charlotte, two icons at opposite ends of the generational spectrum, one carrying a controversial legacy, the other embodying the promise of the future, any hint of discord, no matter how slight, is bound to ignite into the spotlight of public debate. That is why the incident in which Camilla was alleged to have acted inappropriately towards Charlotte carries such particular weight. It is not merely a personal moment between two individuals, but a sensitive point of contact within the complex web of royal relationships. It is the clash between a past still shadowed by controversy and a future expected to heal by old wounds, between the bonds of family and the demands of the crown, between a queen who has faced public doubt and a young princess beloved across the nation. And in the eyes of King Charles, anything that threatens Charlotte's safety or image is something he cannot and will not overlook, no matter how grand or dignified the setting in which it occurs. The royal banquet at Windsor Castle that evening had been anticipated as a rare occasion for the family to gather in an atmosphere both formal and warmly intimate. The vast hall was adorned in splendor, its crystal chandeliers casting a golden glow, red carpets unfurling beneath every step, and the faint scent of white roses, the emblem of the royal family, drifting through the air. Long tables draped in white silk were laden with exquisite dishes and fine wines, creating a scene so polished it seemed nothing could possibly disturb it. King Charles, dressed in a finely tailored ceremonial suit, stood in conversation with Prince William and a few distinguished guests. Queen Camilla, wearing a glittering tiara and a striking emerald gown, moved among the groups like a gracious hostess. Princess Catherine, elegant in a navy blue dress, kept a watchful eye on her children, especially Charlotte, the little girl who invariably drew attention whenever she appeared at a grand occasion. At first, Charlotte adhered perfectly to royal decorum, standing beside her mother and smiling politely at guests. But at just 8 years old, her natural restlessness soon emerged. As the music swelled and the sound of laughter and chatter filled the hall, she slipped away, weaving between guests toward the tall windows where she had spotted a group of performers preparing their act. Her soft brown hair swayed, the skirt of her dress flaring gently with each step, like a small breeze breaking through the solemn stillness of the great hall. It was at that moment that Camilla's eyes caught sight of her. Instead of offering the indulgent smile many might have expected, the queen consort moved quickly toward Charlotte. Her voice, according to several witnesses, rang with a sharpness that sounded more like a command than a gentle reminder. It was said that Camilla leaned down close to Charlotte's face and spoke words that instantly erased the child's smile, leaving her wide-eyed in surprise. Some sources even claim that Camilla had snapped at her, a rarity at any public event, particularly when the subject was a young royal. Princess Catherine, only a few steps away, noticed immediately. Her expression shifted from calm to tense in an instant. She strode quickly to her daughter, placed a protective hand on Charlotte's shoulder, and fixed her gaze directly on Camilla. It was not the look of a dutiful daughter-in-law toward her stepmother-in-law, but the stare of a mother ready to defend her child from unfair treatment. The air in that moment seemed to tighten. The laughter and chatter around them dulled as those nearby sensed the change. King Charles, speaking with guests not far away, swiftly picked up on the tension. Turning his head, he saw Charlotte pressed close to her mother. Catherine's steady, unyielding gaze locked on Camilla, while Camilla herself maintained a composed expression tinged with unmistakable irritation. For just a second, Charles's face changed. His brows drew together, his lips pressed into a firm line, subtle signs that the king's temper was beginning to rise. King Charles initially tried to maintain the composed dignity expected of a head of state. He knew that at any public engagement, personal feelings must be carefully hidden behind polite smiles and cordial handshakes. But the sight of Charlotte pressed close to Catherine and, her eyes glistening with a mix of surprise and hurt, struck him like a blade to the heart. Memories came flooding back, memories of the years Diana had endured pain, of the times he had stood powerless while those he loved were caught in the cold machinery of the palace. For the first few minutes, he remained still, taking a deep breath and telling himself he might have misunderstood. But Catherine's gaze, sharp, protective, combined with the flicker of awkwardness and faint displeasure on Camilla's face, told him this was not something that could be brushed aside. His love and instinct to protect Charlotte were so strong that the ceremonial restraints which had bound him for decades suddenly felt meaningless. When the banquet quietened and guests began drifting toward another part of the hall, Charles strode over to Camilla. His voice was low, but carried enough weight to make her look up at once. "I want to know what just happened with Charlotte," he said, each word deliberate, his eyes never leaving hers. Camilla hesitated, then replied that she had merely reminded the child to behave at the event. Charles was not convinced. Leaning in, his voice dropped, laced with restrained anger. "A reminder doesn't make a child's face change like that, especially not when that child is my granddaughter." In that moment, they were no longer king and queen consort, but a grandfather confronting his wife. Charles did not raise his voice, but each word landed like a hammer blow. His severity came not from his title, but from an unconditional love for Charlotte. For Camilla, it was an unmistakable signal she had crossed a line that could not be crossed in the king's heart. Charles's bond with Charlotte was more than simple affection between grandfather and granddaughter. To him, she represented something missing in his life, a dream fate had never fully granted. In private conversations, he had often admitted that he once longed for a daughter. During his marriage to Diana, amid all the fractures and misunderstandings, he still held hope that one day they might have a little girl, someone who would carry the grace, gentleness, and sensitivity he had always admired in women. That dream died when the marriage ended, leaving behind an unspoken ache. When Charlotte was born, on a bright May morning, Charles had stood silently by the hospital window, his eyes shining as he looked down at the crowds cheering in the street. In that moment, he felt a rare kind of happiness, as though some of the regret from his past was being quietly mended. He has often said Charlotte is not just his granddaughter, but the daughter I never had. And each time he sees her with her soft brown hair, bright eyes, and mischievous smile, he catches glimpses of Diana, the woman who left the deepest mark on his life. On more than one occasion, the public has caught that special look Charles reserves for Charlotte during official events. It is not the gaze of a monarch performing a duty, but of a grandfather filled with affection, pride, and protectiveness. During Trooping the Color, as Charlotte stood on the palace balcony, waving her flag and softly singing along to the music, Charles bent down to whisper something that made her burst into giggles. The moment was captured on camera, becoming one of the warmest royal images in recent years. Charlotte reminds Charles of Diana not only in appearance, sometimes in the slight tilt of her head, other times in the brilliance of her smile, but also in the quiet strength and determination she shows, even at such a young age. Diana was known for never standing idly by in the face of injustice, and Charlotte is much the same. She has often displayed poise in public, confidently straightening her brother's posture during events or offering perfect, polite curtsies to elders. Charles sees in her that same independence and self-assurance, and it only deepens his admiration. Perhaps that is why anything that harms Charlotte provokes a stronger reaction from Charles than most would expect. To him, she is not merely a delightful child. She is a living connection to one of the most beautiful parts of Diana's memory, a fragment of love and loss he will carry forever. Charles knows that if Diana were still alive, she would guard and cherish Charlotte with all her heart. And now he considers that his own duty, not only as a grandfather, but as an unspoken promise to the woman who left too soon. This explains why, At the Windsor Castle banquet, when he saw Charlotte being scolded, Charles could not maintain the usual silence he so often kept. It wasn't simply that Camilla had lost her temper with a child. It was that someone had caused the daughter of his dreams to feel subdued and hurt. In that moment, Charles was no longer the sovereign at the height of power, but a man who had already lost too much and who was now determined not to let history repeat itself. Those close to the king say that after this incident, Charles became even closer to Charlotte. He began spending more time with her, often inviting William and Catherine to bring the children to Sandringham or Balmoral so the family could share meals together. In the afternoons, he and Charlotte would stroll through the gardens, talking about simple things. Those were moments when Charles could live fully as a grandfather, no throne, no ceremony, just laughter and childhood chatter. To Charles, Charlotte is a kind of miracle, a thread that links past to present, pain to hope. She is proof that even in the most powerful and complicated of families, pure love can exist and bridge any distance. And so he will do anything to protect that smile. Because whenever Charlotte smiles, he feels as though Diana is smiling at him from some far-off place. There is one thing those within royal circles quietly acknowledge. Though never say in public, Camilla has never truly warmed to Princess Charlotte. In public, she wears the polite smile and fulfills her role as queen consort before the cameras. But behind closed doors, that discomfort is not always perfectly hidden. Many believe it stems from the fact that Charlotte is the king's favorite, a place in his heart. No one, not even Camilla, can replace it. For Camilla, her place beside Charles is the result of decades of waiting, fighting, and weathering storms of public outrage. She endured the disdainful stares, the headlines branding her the other woman, and the cold shoulders of many within the family. After all, though, she believed she deserved to be Charles's first priority, but Charlotte emerged as an exception. To him, she is not just a granddaughter, she is the embodiment of an unfulfilled dream, the daughter he had always longed for. This created an invisible distance, leaving Camilla feeling shut out from a part of her husband's heart. The unspoken comparisons to Diana only make it more bitter. Charlotte not only reminds Charles of Diana, she also stirs that same association in the public mind, graceful, warm, and beloved. For a woman who has lived in the long shadow of Diana, seeing Charlotte so adored feels like an unending reminder of old wounds. Deep down, Camilla knows that no matter how hard she tries, she will never replace that image, and that Charlotte, in her own way, keeps Diana's memory alive in both Charles's heart and the hearts of the British people. Perhaps that is why, in certain moments, Camilla finds it difficult to contain her emotions. The Windsor Castle incident was one such moment. One rash act, raising her voice at an 8-year-old girl during a royal banquet, became the crack in an image she had worked for years to repair. Until then, Camilla had gradually softened public opinion, moving from reviled to at least partially accepted as queen consort. But after that night, the whispers returned. She'll never change. Still the same selfish woman as before. Worse still, she lost something more precious than public approval, Charles's trust. The king, who had always sought to shield Camilla from storms, this time made no secret of his displeasure. Within the family, that was a dangerous sign. It meant Camilla had crossed a line Charles would not allow anyone to cross, his love and protection for Charlotte. From that point on, their relationship was never quite the same, even if they continued to appear together for official duties. Camilla also lost the chance to preserve harmony with Catherine, a key figure in maintaining the royal family's image of unity. Catherine had been one of the few who could subtly soften public judgment of Camilla, thanks to her grace and tact. But when Camilla scolded Charlotte, Catherine responded not only as a mother defending her child, but as a royal safeguarding the family's image before the public eye. Once that fracture appeared, it would be very hard to mend. And in the end, the greatest loss for Camilla was the chance for Charlotte to ever truly see her as family. Children hold on to strong emotions for a very long time, and the mixture of confusion and sadness in Charlotte's eyes that evening is likely to remain etched in her memory. Instead of becoming the gentle step-grandmother she might have been, Camilla has imprinted herself in the girl's mind with a negative memory, all because of one moment's loss of control. A sharp word, seemingly harmless, became the final drop that tipped the balance, shattering the fragile equilibrium within an already complicated family dynamic. In the royal world, where every gesture is watched, a mistake like this is never just private, it becomes a crack for all to see. And for Camilla, it was a harsh reminder that sometimes what we lose is not because of great battles, but because of fleeting moments when emotion overwhelms reason. As Charlotte grows, she continues to astonish both the public and the royal family, as though she carries within her the perfect blend of two of Windsor's most iconic women. She has the kindness, warmth, and listening eyes of Princess Diana, but also the grit, resolve, and unshakable presence of Princess Anne. These are not traits invented by the press or romanticized by admirers, they are evident in her every small action. Visiting children's hospitals, she doesn't simply shake hands or smile as a formality, she kneels down to meet the eye level of young patients, speaking to them as a friend. At remembrance events, she stays focused and composed, not distracted as many children her age might be. These moments evoke memories of Diana, a princess who broke through the royal frost to touch the hearts of the people. But Charlotte also bears something distinctly her own, and strength and discipline. Even at such a young age, she has shown the ability to hold herself together under pressure and under the relentless gaze of the media. When photographed unexpectedly, she neither flusters nor freezes, but instinctively adjusts her composure, a skill that even some senior royals lack. It's clear she is being shaped not just to be beloved, but to be capable of carrying the weight of responsibility when the time comes. And this is why many believe that, should Charlotte one day ascend the throne, she could usher in a new era for the monarchy just as Queen Elizabeth II did in her time. Elizabeth steered the royal family through turbulent waters, preserving its dignity while skillfully adapting to the modern age. Charlotte, with Diana's heart and Anne's will, could well repeat that feat. She has the power to stir deep affection in the public, while running a reign with the firmness required to weather scandal and storms. Yet, that very potential is what unsettles some within the royal family, especially those who place personal interest above the good of the institution. Charlotte, in her youthful innocence, is not yet aware that every smile and gesture can carry an unspoken message, a silent declaration about the monarchy's future direction, but the shrewd and the wary see it plainly. They know that once the public's trust and affection are placed in Charlotte, her influence could become a force beyond easy control. And so, somewhere within the cold stone walls of the palace, certain eyes have begun to watch her closely. Charlotte may not be a political threat in the traditional sense, but she has the potential to become a symbol so powerful it could overshadow those currently in power. A future queen whose image is pure, whose heart is kind, and whose spirit is unyielding would be near impossible to manipulate. For those accustomed to pulling the strings, that is a troubling thought. If Elizabeth II was the rock that held the system firm amid the waves, Charlotte could become the torch that rekindles the fading faith of the British people. The only difference is that she has been born into an age where every move is recorded. Every word can become a headline within seconds. And if she holds on to Anne's steel and Diana's compassion, Charlotte would not merely be a queen in name, she could lead a true renaissance for the monarchy. But the history of the British royal family has never allowed a smooth path for those who shine too brightly. And perhaps this is only the beginning of Charlotte's story, a girl carrying the legacy of the two most formidable women in Windsor's history, and who may yet prove to be the key that either opens or closes the grand gates of a glory the world once knew. From the public's perspective, the relationship between Charles and Camilla has always been a storm-tossed voyage from stolen glances in the shadows to standing together on the highest step of the monarchy. They endured fierce public opposition, the cold stares of the Windsor clan, and countless barbed headlines. Every scandal, every rumor, every detail dredged up about Diana's death seemed a dagger aimed at their bond. Yet, through it all, they pressed forward hand in hand, which is why when this new incident erupted, many wondered, could this truly be the shock strong enough to shake a love forged through fire and tears? Or is it nothing more than a passing gust, incapable of breaching the wall of trust they have built over decades amid the storm? One name suddenly emerged as an unexpected focal point: Charlotte, the young princess, with her radiant smile and poised demeanor, has long captured the hearts of the British public. Her innocence is more than just a symbol of the royal family's next generation. It's a living bridge between the palace and the people. Every step, every bow, every glance from Charlotte carries a kind of influence that even the most seasoned media advisors will admit she has the rare power to shift the mood of a crowd. So when the whispers began to circulate that Charlotte had shown signs of displeasure toward Camilla, it could hardly be dismissed as a minor detail. Even the briefest gesture from the princess could stir old memories, wounds in the public consciousness that never truly healed. And those memories are all too familiar. The love triangle between Charles, Camilla, and Diana remains one of the darkest stains on the modern history of the British monarchy. Diana, the princess adored across the globe, endured years of loneliness, betrayal, and ultimately met a tragic, mysterious end. In the eyes of many, the public has never fully forgiven Camilla, despite her 2-decade-long effort to soften her image. That's why, when any younger royal, especially one so strikingly reminiscent of Diana as Charlotte, appears distant or at odds with Camilla, the public's mind instantly leaps to the past. The comparisons become inevitable, and with them returns a familiar sentiment, the sense that once again, the royal family may be fractured from within, and that the cause might be traced back to the same controversial name. A glance at royal media history makes one thing clear whenever fresh drama emerges. It is almost always framed in the context of earlier scandals. From Harry and Meghan's departure to stories of frosty relationships among senior royals, the narratives are repeatedly tied to the monarchy's most infamous rifts, with the Charles-Camilla-Diana saga sitting firmly at the center. This time is no different. The question isn't just, did Charlotte truly react that way, but is this a sign that simmering tensions within the family are beginning to surface once again? Because the British monarchy is, by its very nature, a structure held together by delicate alliances. Relationships are not purely a matter of affection or kinship. They intertwine with power, image, and succession. A single, seemingly small gesture from Charlotte, whether intentional or not, can be interpreted as a message, a challenge, or a refusal to comply. In the eyes of the public, it might be taken as a reminder that the fracture between Camilla and the rest of the family never fully disappeared, merely hidden under careful diplomacy. So, is this nothing more than a misunderstanding blown out of proportion? Or is it truly the first toll of a bell warning of a new crisis brewing inside the palace? If it's a misunderstanding, the royal family will need to handle it with exceptional subtlety to keep it from exploding into a global scandal. But if it's the truth, then this could be the most punishing test Charles and Camilla have faced since their marriage, a trial by public opinion, haunted by Diana's shadow, and shadowed by that eternal question: is their love strong enough to survive yet another storm? Or will it finally be swept away by waves stirred up by the past itself?